A little over a year ago, I made a video all about how I wasn't excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day. You can check it out right here. I felt that MCU Spider-Man had been broken past the point of recovery, and I was resigned to the fact that we were going to get plenty more Spider-Man films. They just probably weren't going to be very good. And then the trailers started rolling out for Brand New Day, and honestly, they didn't do much for me. There were all these additional MCU characters jammed in there. You've got the Hulk, you've got the Punisher, the Hand is here, you've got Scorpion, this mysterious new villain as well, and along with all of that you've got MJ and Ned Leeds coming back too. For me, including these last two in this direct sequel to No Way Home was probably the most worrying sign for this film. I just assumed that by the end of Brand New Day, the status quo was just going to be reset back to where it was prior to the events of No Way Home. Peter and MJ would be back together again, Peter and Ned would be best buds, and everything would be just exactly as it was. And that's what I thought Brand New Day was going to be. Just more of the same. Brand New Day would have a new director, but it would be essentially the same film, with the same problems that the Homecoming trilogy had. So yeah, my expectations were pretty low. I had a feeling the best improvement I could hope for was that the action scenes and camera work would be improved, but that was about it. And I was wrong. Brand New Day kicks ass, man. This film did the impossible. I'm actually excited. Genuinely excited about the direction that Dustin Daniel Cretton is taking Spider-Man in. You're going to hear this line a lot in the reviews, but Spider-Man actually feels like Spider-Man in this film. And yeah, that's true, more so than he ever has in any of the Homecoming films, or really with any of his appearances in the MCU so far. In fact, Dustin Daniel Cretton does such a good job here. I feel like Brand New Day shines a light on just how lacking the Homecoming trilogy was, because everything that Cretton and the writers Eric Summers and Chris McKenna are doing in this film feels like a response to the years of fan backlash that those films got. Everything across the board is improved, man. The character work, the action, the story, the characterization of Peter Parker's Spider-Man, the costume, even the world building, all of it. Brand New Day is a total refit. A back to basics, stripped down, pared back, honest to goodness Spider-Man movie with a capital S. Son. Spider-Man Brand New Day feels substantive, in a way we just didn't get with the Home trilogy. It feels substantive in a way that the MCU hasn't in a while. Do you want to know the level of repair work that Cretton and co put into this film and its characters? The scope of it. I actually care about MJ now and her relationship with Peter, which is a sentence I thought I would never say considering I'd written that character off in Far From Home. The writers are giving MJ more than just flippant sarcasm to work with here. They're giving her some of the strongest, most heartfelt scenes in this movie. Ned, you can still keep this guy. Honestly, there's not too much of an improvement there. He's still mainly just comic relief. He's given a little bit more to do, but that's not really saying much. I just want to dip into the visuals of Brand New Day for a moment, because this film actually looks like a film. Can you believe how low our standards have gotten? One of my biggest gripes with the Home trilogy was just how basic they were from a visual storytelling perspective. The action scenes were largely pre-rendered, and badly pre-rendered at that. The camera work was uninventive and static feeling. But here with Brand New Day, we finally get a director that knows how to move the camera and how to film a character like Spider-Man in action. I've said this before, but when you're making a film about Spider-Man, you have no excuse not to get creative with the camera work. Playing with perspective, thinking of new creative ways to showcase how Spidey would move through an environment, how he fights, that is the bare minimum you should expect from a movie that showcases a character with such a unique movement style. No one should ever leave the cinema after watching a Spider-Man movie and struggle to remember the action sequences. Even the Web Spider-Man movies understood this. Your story can be mid, but never your visuals and your action. Those need to be memorable. And we are getting memorable fight scenes here. A couple actually. There is a Spider-Man v the Hand action sequence toward the end of this film, and it just keeps on going. There are layers to this fight. It moves from ground level to the upper floors to full-on mid-air combat. It's got a level of creativity in its choreography that I haven't seen in a Marvel film since Civil War. Even the color grading is improved here, man. Looking at these environments, they feel warm. They've got texture. There's a richness to them. New York has a more vibrant, distinct look to it now. It's not just some generic-ass city anymore. You can tell when a director is using real sets as opposed to green screen pre-rendered backgrounds. I didn't spot any of that bullshit in Brand New Day. Brand New Day is, for me, Holland's best performance as Peter Parker. He's never felt more like Spider-Man than he does here. The weight of his responsibility, the loneliness of it all, just weighs on this guy, and you can see it on his face. This is the element of Brand New Day that I appreciate the most. There are scenes in this film that explore the real cost of Peter living this life, the real life consequences of it all. And this stuff isn't just briefly touched on either. there are a few scenes that go deep into it, that have impact. Early on there's this one scene of Peter web-swinging home after seeing MJ and her new boyfriend at a party, and the look on Peter's face is just so heartbreaking. Like, he is so upset looking. And later on when MJ kisses Peter for the first time, and you see Peter just break down, you feel like you're seeing a guy who has finally been brought in from the cold after 4 long years of isolation. He's not crying out of happiness here. No, he's crying out of relief. It's like a dam breaking. It's actually really tough to watch. You really feel for the guy in that moment. And while this scene is so heart-rendingly sad, it's not even the hardest hitting one in the movie. The strongest one being when MJ finds Peter's letter. And this scene had all the potential to play out in the typical way, where MJ would suddenly remember who Peter was, or realize she still loves him despite her memories of him being erased or whatever. But it didn't go that way. It goes in completely the opposite direction. MJ explains to Peter that she's not the MJ he was with because she has no memories of him. And it's a gut punch of a scene, man. This is the second time Peter has had everything he wanted dangled in front of him, only to have it snapped away again. You just see Peter's heart breaking with every word she says to him. This scene legitimately choked me up. By this stage in the film, I just wanted this guy to catch a break. He needed one desperately. When I say that Brand New Day is substantive, this is what I mean. Conversations between characters aren't just surface level. There is actual depth here, heartfelt sincerity. The action is great, the world building is great, but all of that is tied together with the quieter character-focused emotional scenes. To care about this world, you need to care about the characters that inhabit it, and that's only possible in a film by exploring your characters like this. And this stuff, scenes like this with genuine emotion behind them, this was the most crucial stuff missing from the Watts trilogy. This is the real emotional stuff that a Spider-Man film just has to have. Peter Parker always being out of pocket, struggling to get by, making the unbearable sacrifices. All these elements are important, but they are secondary to the exploration of cost. If I'm split about 2 aspects in this film, the first would have to be Jean Grey and her characterization. Jean is kind of a full-blown psychopath in this film. I understand that Jean is doing what she's doing to find her sister, but with the shit she gets up to in this film, she's not even close to being categorized as a reluctant antagonist. She does a lot of unnecessarily messed up things, and a lot of the time for no reason, like walking an old man in front of a speeding taxi, or walking MJ off a building with a big old smile on her face. That seemed particularly sadistic. Or having 2 guards shoot each other at one point, when she could have maybe mind controlled them into running away instead. She has a sweet old lady steal a tank and go on a full GTA 4 style rampage, endangering hundreds of people. I understand she needed the tank to break into damage control to get to Scorpion, but did she need to have it firing indiscriminately through the streets of New York too? That tank, by the way? Yeah, she wired it with high explosives. In retrospect, from everything that I've seen from Jean in this film, I can only assume she wanted mass casualties when that bomb went off. And that's not all. She messes with Bruce Banner's mind so much she brings back the Savage Hulk persona. Who knows how many people he would have gone on to kill if Peter wasn't there to stop him. I had to do a double take at the end when Peter is talking her down and says he knows she's not a killer. I mean, not for lack of trying, man. Did you forget about the bomb she tried to level damage control with? And also every other thing she's done in this film? If you'd been a second slower catching MJ, she'd be dead for sure. These are not the actions of a reluctant, sympathetic antagonist. They're the actions of a remorseless psychopath. This is exactly the kind of shit that makes people afraid of mutants in the comics. Unchecked power and zero empathy. And it's important to remember, she does all of this stuff ever before having her mind messed with by Xavier, or playing host to the Phoenix Force. Can you imagine what this girl would be like with the Phoenix Force, if this is how bad she is now? And don't give me any of this, she's become a monster to find her sister bullshit. Ever before her sister Sarah got kidnapped, both of them were just mind-jacking people in the park to test the limits of their powers, with seemingly zero concern for any of the people they were testing them on. It's one of the lesser things she does in this film, but I think it really speaks to her overall outlook and personality. But you know that scene I spoke about a minute ago where Peter breaks down crying in MJ's arms, finally thinking he's been reunited with the lost love of his life? Yeah, Jean thought that was pathetic. She went out of her way to communicate that to him. She could have not said that, but she really wanted to twist the knife, really wanted to make him feel like shit. With this characterization, I just have to ask, why is it necessary to have Jean Grey play this role? Swap young Jean out with young Emma Frost, you're golden. I'd expect this kind of cruel sadistic shit from her, but having Jean Grey, founding member of the X-Men, doing this stuff, That's character assassination, man. I don't care what you say. It's kind of hard for it to come back from this. Like, really hard. I'm a little conflicted about Bernthal's Punisher even being in this movie, man. I understand from a thematic level why the writers chose to include him. Frank's life does have some pretty close parallels to Peter's at this particular point in his life, but I do not buy for a second the idea that Peter Parker would work with or even tolerate someone like Frank Castle, let alone have a casual, friendly-ish relationship with him. Just think about it for a second. What part of Frank's mission would Peter condone or endorse? Frank Castle is a mass murderer. You would be hard-pressed to find another character in the MCU that has a higher body count than old Frank here. Benjamin Poindexter, Bullseye. No one's going to disagree with me when I say he's a villain, right? He's killed around 70 plus people. His kill count isn't even half that of Frank's here, who has almost 140 plus kills under his belt. Bullseye's an out-and-out deranged psychopath, and he has killed less people than Frank Castle. I'm failing to see how Peter would be comfortable with this guy running around New York unchecked. First time Pete runs into Punisher in Brand New Day, he just gives him a mild talking to and then sends him on his way. The Punisher is basically being treated as if he's the MCU's equivalent of the Condiment King, some harmless guy. Peter, this guy has filled graveyards. Why aren't you tying him up for the police? And it's not just that Peter tolerates Frank. No, it's that these guys are friends. That's the part that really gets me. Say what you want about MCU Peter Parker, the characterization is different from the books, but I'm pretty positive MCU Peter would have a zero tolerance policy on murder. He would never work with Frank. In fact, most heroes don't work with Frank. Most heroes think the Punisher is just another psycho killer, no better than Bullseye or Crossbones or the Green Goblin. Remember when Frank tried to sign up with the Resistance in Civil War? Remember how well that idea went down with Captain America? This is exactly what Peter should be doing with Frank here. Peter even knows where Frank's hideout is. He's actively supporting him by not tipping the police off to his location. I wonder what Jean DeWolf and Peter's friends on the Force would say if they knew he was sitting on that information. The fact that Peter knows where Frank is technically makes him complicit in any of the murders Frank commits when he's free. The Punisher was a weird one to pair Spider-Man up with. Someone like Daredevil would fit this role way better, and if you did include Daredevil, you wouldn't need to answer any of these really difficult questions around why Spider-Man is happy to associate with a known murderer instead of taking him in like he would any other criminal. But you know, maybe collectively everyone decided one day to just let Frank do his thing. And I'm including the police in that too, because here Frank can just sit beside Peter's hospital bed for what looks like days and doesn't have to worry about being arrested. I don't know why Frank's got a secret base of operations. He doesn't need it, man. The police are just not interested in this guy. They're probably only interested in the really dangerous criminals. You know, like Boomerang or Ramrod. You know, the real sickos. But having said all that, I do like the chemistry Holland and Bernthal have. Seeing Peter on equal footing with another hero, for a change, bantering and arguing and pushing back, I prefer seeing Peter engaging like this rather than all this yes Mr. Stark, no Mr. Stark bullshit the writers usually have him carry on with. This is actually a lot closer to how Peter interacts with other heroes in the comics. Comics Peter, he was more likely to tell other heroes off as work with them, especially when he was younger. He didn't look up to or worship anyone, especially other heroes. He was his own man, and I like seeing this version of Peter finally coming to his own in that regard. I want Marvel to learn from Brand New Day, not just about how to make better Spider-Man films, but just how to make better films full stop. This film is blowing past box office projections. It's doing better than anyone thought it would, and I don't think that's because the visuals are improved, or that the action is several cuts above what people have come to expect from a Marvel movie nowadays, or because of all the other MCU characters that are here. I don't think that's what the audience is really responding to. I think they're responding to the emotional core of this film, the sincerity of it. They're connecting with Peter Parker in a way they just haven't been able to since the Raimi films. Marvel is turning a corner, and Brand New Day needs to be the benchmark by which they measure all their future films against. Over $1 billion just 6 days after its release. That's the incentive right there to make better movies. People will show up for quality, man, and that's what Brand New Day is. It's a quality film, and it did the impossible. It got me interested in Spider-Man again, and that was no easy thing.